Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
Rosewood's president opens up about their decision to stick with the Bahama brand. That story straight ahead.
John Pinder hitting back at his critics over his appointment as the new Director of Labor.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, the controversial Interception of Communications Bill 2017, also known as the Spy Bill, was passed in the House of Assembly today, but not before a series of concerns were raised by members of the opposition. Jasmine Brown reports.
It's no secret that the opposition has its issues with the spy bill, and today in the House of Assembly, they made those issues clear.
Order that the bill do now pass, and the title thereof to be Interception of Communications Act 2018.
The bill, once enacted, will authorize the interception of communications, public and private, within a single legal framework. But before the bill was passed, the Interception of Communications Bill 2017 made its way through the committee stage, and what was expected to be a quick process dragged on for nearly 2 hours as the opposition raised concerns about the so-called spy bill. Member of Parliament for Anglerston Glennis Hannah Martin says the bill in its current form is frightening.
I just feel that it should be extremely narrow. The powers should be narrow and very defined in how people's conversations are listened to.
The spy bill provides for the interception of all communication networks licensed as public or not. This would include public telecommunication operators and internet providers. An interception must be authorized by a judge upon ex parte application by the Attorney General at the request of an authorized officer. That includes the Commissioner of Police or a person authorized by the Director of the Bureau of Investigation. Qualifying offenses for an interception order include terrorist acts, terrorism financing, genocide, drug and firearms trafficking, money laundering, acquisition or creation of weapons of mass destruction, sabotage, espionage, or subversion. The bill also provides for the use of certain devices for listening to private conversations. Hannah Martin says legislation needs to include a reporting mechanism.
Who will be overseeing the compliance? Who's going to be bringing the charge? If you have a tape and you've listened to someone's conversation and you presenting it in evidence or whatever it is, who is going to ensure that the extraneous matter is destroyed? Who is going to ensure that exculpatory matter is not destroyed? That's a real concern I have. So, there has to be some checks and balances with this power. And I'd like to know what are the checks and balances.
The Anglerston MP revealed that the opposition wanted to make an amendment to the bill, but St. Anne's MP Brent Simonet quickly shot her down.
We did the debates on this clause. You had moved the question. The question was almost being put when Anglerston had some amendments. She is not ready for the amendments yet and has requested we break until after lunch. Mr. Chairman, that is not a position that this side supports. And if she has those amendments, they can be raised in the Senate the same way that they did in the last and brought back here.
The Christie administration introduced a similar bill during its final months in office, but that bill was shelved in the face of staunch opposition from a cross-section of civil society groups and the F&M, which labeled it the spy bill. Despite concerns expressed in the past, Minister of State for Legal Affairs Ellsworth Johnson defended the bill on Wednesday, saying it was an essential crime-fighting tool. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, a resolution to borrow $211 million to help cover the costs of Bahamas Power and Light was passed in the House of Assembly this afternoon. Minister of Works Desmond Bannister explained why more borrowing is necessary.
Whereas BC is presently experiencing a financial crisis due to a number of factors, including the high cost of fuel in 2018, the funding of capital projects, a high expense ratio, and reduced cash inflows due to tariff reductions.
BPL has earmarked over $20 million to pay out more than 300 employees who have expressed interest in the company's voluntary separation packages. Though Bannister did not say if some of that money would be used to pay for VSEPs, government is seeking to borrow from 4 foreign banks and 1 Bahamian bank.
Scotiabank, Bahamas Limited, main branch Nassau, the Bahamas, in its capacity both as agent and lender. 2, First Caribbean International Bank, Bahamas Limited, corporate banking, Nassau, the Bahamas. 3, Royal Bank of Canada, main branch Nassau, the Bahamas. And 4, Bank of the Bahamas Limited, main branch Nassau, the Bahamas. 5, Citibank NA, a branch of a corporation organized and existing under the laws of the state of New York, the United States of America.
In other news, the phased opening of the $3.5 billion Baha Mar Resort reached its pinnacle last evening with the ribbon cutting of the Rosewood Hotel. Despite political pushback, Baha Mar President Graham Davis says they never stopped believing in the potential of the mega resort. Jared Higgs reports.
This cut of a ribbon cements the beginning of a new era in Bahamian tourism. The opening of the Rosewood Hotel, which is already employing 450 new workers, was spurred to completion by a $43 million investment by the resort's owner. Nearly 3 years on from a bankruptcy filing by the resort's previous developer, Rosewood President Radha Arora says their faith never wavered.
We believed in it from the beginning, and the ownership, our ownership, CTFE, Charter Folk Enterprises, believed in it, and they came and purchased the asset, and then asked us to continue managing Rosewood. So we've come in, and finally we're here. As I mentioned earlier, 7 years I've been watching this project, and I'm absolutely delighted to see it finally come to fruition.
That belief wasn't held by Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis and Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar. Prior to becoming Prime Minister, Minnis regularly criticized the project, calling its April 2017 opening fake and a photo op for the then governing Progressive Liberal Party. Since coming to office, Minnis has been front and center at all of the resort's openings, including the Rosewood last evening. De Aguilar was also a regular critic of the Cable Beach Resort, stating among other things that the resort's current owner, Chow Tai Fook Enterprises, was unsuited to invest in the Bahamas. Despite the doubts that may have existed, Arora says guests can't wait to get in the door.
We have many inquiries, certainly from on the corporate business and the incentive business, and of course the individual travelers with the families and tri-generational. So we have huge pent-up demand, as I mentioned.
Now, Arora was quick to point out that the Rosewood brand has a strong footprint here in the Caribbean. When asked how the Bahamas' property would compete, he was optimistic.
If I see what's the booking pace today, if I see the inquiries today, I think it's going to be equal to all of our other successful destinations.
A reported 30% increase in bookings for the Bahamas through Expedia is credited in part to new properties like the Baha Mar Resort. Reporting for our news, I'm Jared Higgs.
Well, 3 days after police arrested a suspect in connection with the sexual assault of 2 little girls, Police Press Liaison Officer Superintendent Shanta Knowles announced this afternoon that the 32-year-old man is no longer under investigation and has been released from police custody. Police say the man was arrested in the Wolf Road area on Sunday after he was held by residents. When officers arrived on the scene, it appeared as if he had been beaten.
I have sons, and they say if that had happened to their daughter, they would have break him up and let him stay there until the police come. They ain't gonna kill him. Just, let him suffer, to let him know that's a child.
Yeah, that's right. Because if it's my child, he might not make it to court.
If he was in our community, he wouldn't have lived. I'm telling you, he wouldn't have lived. So he get beat, he get a little bit of Band-Aid. You could put Band-Aid on that, what that little girl got to put on her now. Her scars, them deeper than his.
Authorities say both incidents of sexual assault remain open and under active investigation. Knowles urged anyone who can assist in identifying the suspect to come forward.
When the crime happens in this area, it happens. We don't hear nothing no more for a month or so, another little act happened.
Well, I saw most of the police, them cars driving around. That's what they need to do. Just have them just coming around the school system and checking up on the children, because a lot of young children walk home by themselves. I used to be scared for them. Even walking across the road, I'm scared walking across the road. So imagine a grade 1 coming out of school, walking across these busy roads.
Though the search continues for a suspect, this grandmother told Our News that since the 2 incidents of sexual assault were reported, she's seen a change in her community.
Fathers and mothers are outside here waiting until school out for the kids. It wasn't happening before, but since the incident, that's when they start coming out and collecting the children. Even they collect the neighbors' children and all to go, for them to take them home along with them.
Newly appointed Labor Director John Pinder is defending his comments on the platform of a Free National Movement mass rally before the 2017 general election, telling reporters today he would do it again and has had to get the Progressive Liberal Party out of office. This after some Labor leaders called Pinder's appointment political. Kyle Joaquin tells us more.
The new director of Labor today hit back at his critics. He says when one considers the years of experience he has on the labor front, you can't think of a better man for the job.
I believe I have earned the right to be where I'm at today.
A defensive Pinder not backing down as some of his former union colleagues speak out over his appointment as Labor Director. The Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress has come out saying Pinder obviously was being repaid for getting on the platform at an F&M rally prior to last year's general election. But the new Labor Director isn't backtracking or mincing his words, asserting he'd do it all again if he has to.
I believe I deserve to be exactly where I am at this time.
One of them in particular said that they saw you on the platform at an F&M.
Certainly, and I'll do it again. At that time, I was of the view that the former government were not working in the best interest of our country, and workers in particular. And so I thought I would use my persuasion to try to get them to understand, let's give somebody else a shot. So said, so done.
You have no regrets with that?
No, I don't regret it. I'll do it again. If this government was to fail us, and I have to hit another podium and say, listen, this government is looking out for workers, they're not doing what should be done, I must be impartial.
Pinder has been president of the Bahamas Public Service Union for 15 years. He replaced Robert Farquharson, who served as director of labor since 2013. But it was the Free National Movement's manifesto pledge to eliminate the practice of appointing persons to the post of Director of Labor who served as head of a trade union immediately preceding that appointment. That's an issue for some on the labor front.
I have one of the best records outside of Bobby O.B. Ferguson as relates to tenure as president of any union and as the person who have been able to help to reform the public service as relates to forming the very first industrial agreement with the government and the union. I think I went my way, and I believe I deserve to be exactly where I am at this time.
For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Still to come on Our News, what prompted the Disabilities Council to visit Parliament today, plus construction set to begin on a Cable Beach hotel. That and more when Our News returns.